train on the intro.
Yes.
Choo-choo train. How about that?
Exactly. Well, first of all, welcome to San Antonio. Thank you for coming. Are you guys excited to see him? I can't believe it, but your movie, Flash turns 40?
40, yeah, I'm 40 years old this week. Is that amazing?
I mean, first of all, and I'm not just saying this, you absolutely do not look old enough to have a movie out where it was 40 years ago. Second of all, that movie is so amazing. If you look at like the wardrobe, the special effects, the design, even like the comic timing and the way it was shot, it was so advanced for its time, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I personally call Flash Gordon a visual masterpiece. I mean, we filmed it in '79, so that would have been 41 years ago, but as you know, they categorize the official dates on the date that it opened. So this year, obviously, we're filming an anniversary, but the cool thing about the anniversary tour is that it opened Christmas 1980 and carried over into 1981. So we can carry over the 40th into 2021, which is so cool.
That is awesome. I mean, I love that. You get double your money with a release date like that. So take us back to the very beginning. I actually was reading a couple really interesting things about the casting process and how you won the role. So can you kind of talk a little bit first about the audition process and what it was like for you first approaching the character before you were guaranteed the role?
3 words: long, grueling, and disconcerting. You know, what I mean by that, it took 8 or 9, somewhere between 8 and 10 months.
I mean,
and that's how it was back then. We didn't have video, so if they wanted to, so it was a couple interviews over a couple months, and then it was a couple auditions. And then the final phase was about 8 or 9 months later. They flew a couple actors to London to do the old-fashioned Hollywood screen test on film. Because remember, in 1979, Claire, we don't remember this, but we didn't have video. So if you wanted to see an actor or anybody, it had to be on film. So 30 days of screen testing, and that was significant because to put anybody on film, you had to have the camera department, you had to have the film crew, you had to have the hair, makeup, wardrobe department, electricians, lighting. I mean, it was huge. And nowadays, all we do is take our iPhone. I'm serious. We take our iPhone. If someone called and said, "Hey, you need to read a part for what's happening in Germany or what's happening in LA," I take out my iPhone. First, they send me the script or the sides I'm going to read. I do a self-tape. It takes a couple seconds, a couple minutes, and I hit send.
Such a different process. That's crazy. So you literally had to fly into LA or fly,
Fly into London was where we filmed it. London was all the first 8 months of interviews in the process was in Los Angeles, and then London. And of course, after about 30 days, I was told I got the part, and we filmed for 5.5 months.
Wow.
In England.
And there's a funny story about you arriving in London and Burt Reynolds calling you. So I'm wondering if you can tell the story because it's really special.
How many people know and heard of and know Burt Reynolds, right? Okay, well, as you know, in the 70s, he was a legend. I mean, iconic, huge star. So my first week arriving in London, I get this phone call. He said, "Hey Sam, it's Burt Reynolds, and I'm in town with my girlfriend, Sally Fields, and we want to invite you to a dinner party." And I hung up the phone. I thought, come on, right, Burt Reynolds, okay? And so he calls me back again. He says, "Sam, please don't hang up on me. This really is Burt Reynolds, and we're having a little dinner party. We want to invite you and your girlfriend over tomorrow night." So I said, "Oh, okay, that's cool. Well, thanks." So I hung up, told me what it was, and I told my girlfriend, I said, "Look, this guy claims he's Burt Reynolds. I invited us to a dinner party, so let's show up an hour late, because, you know, maybe there's 50 people, maybe there's 10, 20 people, I don't know, but, you know, I don't want to embarrass you, and I definitely don't want to get embarrassed. So we show up, God's truth, we show up an hour later, and it's just Burt Reynolds and Sally Fields sitting at a four-top, that means a table for four, waiting for me and my girlfriend to show up.
I love that.
So I told him what I just told you, you know, and he started laughing. We hit it off so well. My two closer too far.
It's not you. You're good. It's the Walking Dead over there.
So Bert and I hit it off so well that the following night he invited us to see the King and I with the Yul Brynner. We got to go backstage to meet Yul Brynner. Then the following night he invited us to the screening of the movie he did with Sally Fields. I think it's called Starting Over. Anyway, he was just a great guy, great time. But that was my embarrassing moment of hanging up on Burt Reynolds and being an hour late for a private dinner.
I feel like you have to like write that into a script some point in the future, you know? Okay, so let's still go back to when you started portraying the characters. You beat out, you know, quite a few other people, some famous, some rumored to be, you know, we've all heard the rumors of who you beat out. But what did you do to prep? Because obviously there's a history of the character here. So did you get the comics? What did you do? How did you sort of approach?
Yeah, I mean, I had the comic books, and Neil Delarenz just wanted to make sure that we read some of those, and then they had a lot of them already bound in the Alex Shrinkman coffee table edition. So we studied that, but primarily we really didn't have a script at the time because that was a big hush-hush deal. But if I remember correctly, the company used to always, she said, yes, we didn't get the actual complete script until 2 days before filming. So, it was very non-disclosure, a lot of confidentiality, et cetera, et cetera. But, you know, and then remember, Michael Hodges, the director, didn't he do a great job? But remember, he didn't come on board until 3 weeks before filming. After Nicholas Rowe did a year of pre-production, so it was challenging. But I think what the cast really felt. And I just really, they told me, Michael, the director, kept telling me, look, Sam, you're young, you're a bit naive, so I really want to capture that on film. So in reality, I didn't do much acting, and I was just myself. Bring that naivete, I think that's what works.
It feels a little bit of like that Spider-Man sensibility of like being naive and a little bit like, you know, not awkward, but you know, a little quirky, if you will.
I was 24 years old. I think I turned 25. So yeah, there was a bit, I guess I can say clear that Hollywood, I had not been in Hollywood long enough to be tainted.
That's a good way of putting it. Well, I mean, you've gone on to have such a huge career in so many different arenas. One thing is like, you've guest starred on like literally every TV show, I feel like, guest star. And I'm curious, out of all your different stints on different shows, did you have a favorite role or a favorite show that you worked on?
Well, I mean, you know, the memorable would be working with Chuck Norris. I think I did 3 or 4 guest spots on Walker, Texas Ranger. Really great guy. If you guys had a chance to meet him in any of the personal appearances of the Comic Cons, he's unbelievable. Just a humble man. Unforgettable. And then, of course, probably my favorite project for TV would be the series I did in Arizona called The Highwayman. How many people saw The Highwayman? I mean, come on, man. For a guy, you know, first of all, my wardrobe, I got to dress up like Road Warrior, Mad Max, black leather, had a big sawed-off shotgun strapped to my thigh. I had a few hello lights. Yeah, there you go. Well, we have a ring. Here it is right here.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Wow, is that funny? So, yeah. So, and I had a federal badge as a federal officer, and I got to drive an 18-wheeler, and we got to film soundstage or a studio. But to be outdoors, for me as a guy, was just the icing on the cake for 6 months.
That's awesome. Well, if you guys actually have a question for Sam, we're going to open it up. You have to stay socially distanced and you have to keep your mask on, but you can come to the mic, make sure you keep space in between you as you line up, or sit down as you line up. And these guys are not asking questions, so don't be intimidated. Come on up. And while they're sort of getting themselves organized, you got the wonderful opportunity to work with Seth MacFarlane, who I love, in Ted and Ted 2. So how did this come about? Because, I mean, he's a huge fan, right? And he sort of approached you?
He is, here's what happened. He called me, but it goes back to what I always talk about.
You have all these famous people calling you all the time.
Yeah, no, but
Reynolds, Sally Field, Seth MacFarlane.
this is important because you hear certain actors or celebrities or athletes say, oh, I'm not a role model, I'm not a role model. But listen, we have to be very careful in our lives what we say and about our conduct and our behavior. And here's the reason why. This is exactly what Seth MacFarlane said to me about 10 years ago. He called me. He said, Sam, when I was 9 years old, I saw your movie and it changed my life. I said, well, how did it change your life? He said, I knew by watching you as the person, as the actor, and I saw a couple interviews you did. I wanted to be like you. I wanted to be a creative type guy when I grew up. So he grew up to be a decision maker in Hollywood, and that's why he called me. So my point is, I got the call because I impacted somebody's life in a good way. So that's why we have to be careful. No matter what industry we're in, we're always going to get that call in the future, no matter what it is. And hopefully, again, we encouraged and impacted somebody's life. So I said to him, so he goes, yeah. I walked out of the theater, Sam, and I knew I was going to be successful. I said, well, you became very successful, you became creative, but you also sort of became a bit perverted. I hope I had nothing to do with it. So we hit it off really well. Because, that teddy bear Ted, he was a bit out there.
I'm a fan of the Orville too, so I think you should go on that show. That would be awesome.
Why not?
Yeah. Hi, do you have a question? Go ahead. Where did you film Flash Gordon?
Oh, great question. Yeah, we were in London, England the whole time. Actually, the first week of filming, the only outdoors we did, we call it exteriors, was in Scotland. It was a remote place called the Isle of Skye. And I'll tell you how remote it was. We had to put all the cars on a ferry boat so we could, end up going to this place. And this was 1979 in the Isle of Skye, Scotland. And the hotel that we checked in already was about 300 years old. And so when I went to the front desk, the guy said to me, sir, now if you want to take a hot bath, you got to give us 2 days notice. Okay? So that's how far back this is. I said, well, let me tell you, buddy, I'm going to be here for 7 days, and I'm giving you 2 days notice on every day I'm here right now. I want a hot bath every day. So that's how remote this place was. And loved it. I loved it. Matter of fact, I made multiple trips to Scotland since 1979. But yeah, but primarily London, England, and outside of London for the other 5 months. But 1 weekend in Scotland, beautiful.
Thank you so much. What do you think in your whole career, between your films and television and everything else, what was the most difficult scene or stunt you've ever had to film?
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, it had to be SG-1. I played the bounty hunter in this episode called Dead Man's Switch. And as an actor, I like to improvise a lot, and I get in trouble for it. We have to be careful about that. It's great to be fresh, and so even though you have the script, you have the dialogue, you don't really want to be sort of, I improvise to make it fresh. That's all. I don't know what I'm about to say. But on that set of SG-1, I'm not not saying it's sort of like an iambic pentameter, like every beat, like beat, 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 beat. But they're very strict about pronunciation with the characters, very strict about how they want to do things. And one of my most difficult roles was that guest spot as a bounty hunter, and I finally got it. I mean, I learned a big lesson. Yeah, that was difficult. You know, when you walk on as a guest, you have to remember it's not your show. You're a guest, and you better follow the guidelines, et cetera, et cetera. And that's and to me that was challenging. I had to take my improvisation levels and just basically sort of eliminate them.
Yeah. In Ted and Ted 2, did you get to improvise?
Well, I did, but you know, that was off the charts. I mean, and Seth and I, he wanted me to say and do things. A lot of directors, when the camera's rolling and there's your close-up, the director will actually speak, you know, over the sound. It doesn't matter, they're going to get that out. They'll say, okay, now I want you to say this. And you say it that way. Okay, now I want you to add this line. You say that. And I want you to say this. So I get me. And I would say on camera, no, Seth, I can't say that. Flash Gordon wouldn't say that. I have some young fans and they wouldn't appreciate that. Okay, so I can't tell you what he asked me to say. So, but you just do this, and then finally he'll keep what you want to keep, and then he'll cut out. But yeah, we had to edit a few things. It was challenging in a good way on not going over the top.
Right, absolutely. Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Sorry, go ahead. I was overlapping you. That's a no-no with them. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, first off, I just want to say I really appreciate you coming out here. You come to San Antonio like every year. I think it's awesome. I see you like every year.
You gotta walk away from those lights. There you go.
I know. And there was one year you came out here with Miss Anderson, and I got Walk Y'all's autograph. I was wondering, has there ever been a thought of like getting a bigger Flash Gordon reunion?
Yeah, so the question is, Flash Gordon reunions? Absolutely. Matter of fact, I've organized the 40th anniversary Flash Gordon reunion for the cast members. I got Brian Blessed on board, Melody Anderson, Ornella Muti. So that's Princess Aura, Del Arden, and Voltaire. But obviously the virus hit, so we had to, you know, I think we did do Liverpool, and then that was in March, okay. And then hello, that's when no, it's not going to happen. But again, like I said earlier, because we can carry, I mean, you're late, because we can carry this over to 2021, not the virus, carry over the anniversary, we're going to do it. And they're so excited. I mean, come on. Imagine in the same photo op, on the same stage, at the same long table as you got all four. And I'm after Timothy Dalton too. I'm still trying to secure him as well, because he's never done a personal appearance or a signing before. So I think once he finds out, which he already knows, that Ornella and Melody are on board, and Brian's on board, and just Brian himself is a force to be reckoned with. He's 84, 85 now, and he takes the, I think you interviewed him, am I right? He takes over by storm. But this is what we're looking forward to next year, all of us together traveling the world.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
I can't wait either. That's going to be so fun. You were part of an amazing documentary, Life After Flash, which it's such a cool film. I don't know if any of you guys have had a chance to see it, but if they haven't, could you just give a little bit of an overview about the documentary, the filming process, and what it was like for you?
It's one of those D words again, disconcerting. If somebody comes to you, and let's say you're 60 or you're in your late 50s, and they say, hey, we want to do your life story. Well, my first thought was, wait a minute, I have many more years left of living, so to me it was a bit disconcerting why they wanted to do it then. And then you think, okay, you know, you've seen all these reality shows. Are they going to be bringing the cameras in our bedroom when we're sound asleep, brushing our teeth, all that kind of nonsense? So I went, you know, guys, who do we go to and ask, right? When we're confronted with a question like this, we go to our wives, right? So I asked my wife, and she says, well, yeah, she says, I think it's a good idea as long as, you know, we can basically not really control it, but you're not going to shoot us while we're sleeping. You're not going to film us while we're
They got in there.
Yeah, it was really, yeah, and what I learned about a documentary, which I didn't know because I didn't really think it through, you can write the most detailed outline or script. It means nothing because you never know what you're going to capture on film until you roll camera. And I learned real quick, okay, documentary on my life, and now how am I going to reach the people, especially the men? How am I going to reach the people? Well, number one, I've got to be transparent. I've got to talk about my failures as much as any successes. And I really had to address my failures. And I think that's why it's such a success. Because I addressed the significant decisions, choices, what I was confronted with, why I chose this, the consequences that followed, and how I dealt with those consequences, good or bad. And for me, and I think for everybody in the viewing audience, I really think it's pieces of gold. Even if it's not about me, it could have been about anybody. But anybody who addressed what I addressed, those are pieces of gold on the do's and I call it, they call it life after Flash. I call it the do's and don'ts of life. So it's, yeah, I love it. I love it. I really do.
Are you gonna write a book someday?
Yeah, why not?
I mean, why not? You've done the documentary, you've done the film,
I started it, but after page 10, I said, nah, I think I need some more of life's ups and downs and bumps before I write the book. But I have written a TV series, which I'm really excited about.
Okay, good. Well, what would be, there's people, I'm sure, in the audience that would love to pursue a career in the arts. And what would your number one piece of advice be for someone like that? With all these years of experience, talking about all the different ups and downs and ebbs and flows.
I mean, for anybody who wants to get in the film industry?
Yeah.
Yeah, keep it simple. Keep it simple. I didn't listen to good advice in the beginning, and let me just clarify that. I'm not talking about advice from the movie industry. I'm talking about advice for people, mentors, even outside the industry, who I really didn't listen to. They were giving me great advice, great wisdom about the do's and don'ts of life. And I didn't really listen. But the first advice I would give, no matter, especially if you're going to be in the movie business, forget about the Hollywood vernacular. The Hollywood, this is Hollywood, the title. Forget about that. Forget about that. Okay? Oh, here you go. Come on. We got a second. We second that.
Yep.
Yes. Really, don't think of it as Hollywood. Think about it as it's a business. It's a profession. That's what it is. Your objective, you should have one. Well, come on, you come in here too, Train. You should have one primary objective about wanting to be part of Hollywood, whether writer, director, producer, camera person, whatever it is. You should have one primary objective, and that is to provide, to bring provision for you and your family. There's no other priority. It's got to be about provision. So that's what you have to protect, is your provision. Forget about the Hollywood, the parties, all that. Those are just distractions to hinder you and prevent you from stepping into your real purpose in life. And obviously, the good Lord has given Blair and myself a platform right now. This is our purpose right now, is to share our stories with you. So if you're going to go to Hollywood, then number one, you better know that it's a God-given gift that you're to go there, okay? And it's for a purpose of provision. But if you're saying to yourself, oh yeah, I'm going to make a ton of money, and I want to be a big star and all that, well, your thinking's already wrong. Unless, wait a minute, let me just correct myself. Unless you've heard God's voice between he and you, and he said, you go, you're going to be a big success, and you may have some bumps in the road, but you go, and I'll make sure that every step along the way I'm there with you. But you've got to apply yourself, Show up when I arrived in Hollywood in 1977, I didn't just say, well, here I am. I worked, I got a job, I got many jobs. Waiter, bouncer, all that stuff. But I also joined a really good acting class. What makes an acting class good? Here's the answer, don't ever forget this. What makes an acting class good is you are getting results within seconds, either by sitting in the audience listening or on stage doing your scene or whatever it is with somebody. It doesn't matter about how famous the people are or the instructor is. You're getting results immediately. That's number one. So getting a job immediately so you're freed up to pay for your acting class. Go to acting class and then they'll have showcases where you can get representation. I got a commercial agent right away. I did my first paying job. I did a beer commercial with the legend, the NBA legend, Jerry West. So I had some big money coming in. And then here's the big catch. And let me give you, I'm sorry to, this is
This is fascinating. I love this.
This is real important, the financial thing. I'm going to use this even number because you need to get a hold of this. I like even number. Let's just say I got my first TV show and they paid me $1 million. Okay? Okay, I got $1 million. Okay. And let's say the show was a big success. But remember when you do a TV series for 1 year, it's anywhere from 4 to 7 months. That's it. But I just made $1 million, didn't I? No, I didn't. No, I didn't. My payroll check was $1 million. But the IRS took, what, 300,000 plus? Now I'm down to 650K. I got to pay my representation 10% out of my debt of the gross, 10% to my agent. So that's another 100K. So now I'm down to, let's say, 550K. If I have a personal manager or a businessman, I can be another 15%. So that's 150K. So now I wasn't 550, now I'm down. Now I got 400,000 in my pocket. Okay? 400K, that's a lot of good money. What did I do with the 400K? Because that phone may not ring again for a couple of months or another year. I got 400,000. Did I go out and buy the $1 million house? Did I go out and buy a Ferrari? Did I just continue making payments in my apartment? Or maybe I bought a little condo? Here's what's going to happen. If I continue making payments on my apartment, got invested into a condo, and maybe bought a Prius and not a Ferrari, I'm good to go for another year, or maybe 2. The money's put away. I'm good to go. I got my mortgage, I got everything in this account. I'm not touching. But if I went out and bought a Ferrari and $1 million house, and that phone doesn't ring for 4 months, 6 months, I'm already bankrupt. I'm bankrupt. I'm done. Here's the statistics of the finances. Only 3% of every actor in the world can pay their bills off of the movie industry. That means, get this, don't ever forget this, 97% of every actor or actress in the world cannot pay their bills unless they have a secondary income outside of the movie industry. I hope that makes sense to you guys, but you need to know that before you go into it.
Definitely, that's great advice. Great
And I've been there 3 times, 4 times. Even though I didn't claim bankruptcy, I was broke, and I made the millions again, and then I still didn't get it. I'm a little slow to being a Southern boy, and then nothing against Southern boy, I'm just a Southern country boy at heart, and I trust a lot of people. You gotta be careful about that too. And then finally I got it about 15, 18 years ago. No more of this stuff. Get the money when you make it. Don't buy the big luxury items. Put it away, especially if you're married with 5 kids. Are you kidding me?
Right?
Hello?
Yes, that's a lot of kids. One more than I had. It's so hard to see, but I think we got your question. Did we get your question? Not yet. Okay, then go ahead.
How you doing, Sam? I know you asked this question quite a bit. Is there going to be a sequel or anything to Flash? Is there going to be a sequel or anything?
Oh yes, is there going to be a sequel?
I know you guys have been talking about it before. I didn't know if there was any comment on that.
So the question is there going to be a sequel? Right, is that right?
To Flash Gordon, right?
Correct.
All right. Hey, first of all, it's a great question, and it's a question that is, I just want to say, why hasn't it? And why isn't it happening now? It's bizarre. But again, it comes back to, usually when people say they have a project in development, it really means they don't have the money yet. But the about a sequel to Flash Gordon, you've had reputable producers who bought the screenplay rights. I know Steven Summers, Van Helsing movies, right? He bought the screenplay rights 20 years ago. He didn't follow through with the options for whatever reason. Neil Moritz, who did all the Fast and Furious movies, he bought the screenplay rights, did not follow through with the option. Fox Studios 6 years ago bought the screenplay rights, and they called me in, we're talking about they brought Matthew Vaughn on board. Are you kidding me? Rick Eisner on board. John Davis, huge names on board. And then when it was getting close, Disney bought Fox, 6 months ago? And Disney came and said, we're not going to do any live action movies right now, sequels to Flash Gordon. We're going to do an animated version. You know, with that famous Japanese producer on it, right? Now that's been put on hold. So here's my, I don't want to say dilemma, all these years, I'm saying, God, do you want to give me the money so I can acquire the screenplay rights and do this myself? I'd be more than happy to do it, but there's really no rhyme or reason. Again, we've eliminated that Hollywood talk by saying, oh yeah, it's in development with a couple of wishful thinking producers. No, these are reputable people and studios with a lot of money who decided not to do it. So, you know what? I say it's time to do it. It's time to do it.
I agree. Do you guys agree? How do you see yourself, like what part of Flash Gordon do you want to tell in this next iteration? Let's just talk hypothetically, you know, how do you want to interact with either a younger Flash, or what do you want to show in the character that, you know, 40 years of life experience has brought you?
You mean if I was to play the character Flash Gordon? Like I told Fox, I don't, you know, if you need me as the dad as Flash Gordon, and I get it, we have a formula making movies. You gotta have the older guys, and then you have the beautiful women, and then you have the beautiful, young, handsome 20-year-old guys. I got that formula. But I told the producers, the same thing applies to the question you're asking me. I said, look, I told Fox when they had it, I said, you want me to play Flash Gordon? I got it. I said, you do know, at the age, I'm 66 now, I said, you do know, even at this age of 66, I can still climb a rope. So wherever you hire as Flash Gordon, whether it's me or a younger guy, you make sure he can still climb a rope. But what I want to bring in, there's so many storylines of the original creation of Alex Raymond. There's the Lion Man. There's the women of Arboretum. I mean, there's so many storylines of people. But I just want to do what we need now in America, in the world. I think a lot of us, society and the culture, we're sort of getting retired of people breaking us down and saying hateful, nasty things to one another. I think we all want to be encouraged and built up. I think that's what's a part of that story. You're going to have the nemesis and the really evil, bad guy or bad group. We got to have that for the conflict. But I think it's got to have redeeming qualities. And I think, again, because Flash Gordon was so natural and pure in the form, back in his day, good meant good, and evil was defined as evil. There was no confusion for the younger generation. So we need to do the next Flash Gordon that applies and is relevant to each age demographic, from the teenagers to the 30, 40, 50-year-olds to us old people.
Well, that's the beauty of having you in the movie for the next generation. You know what I mean? Is because it ties it all together. I definitely think it's time. I hope, fingers crossed for you. That'd be awesome. Everybody here obviously loves you. They love Flash Gordon. But I want to know, what do you geek out about? Like, what do you love? No, about in life. Are you a golfer? Do you love horror movies? What gets you going? What are you passionate about?
That's a great question. I mean, do I golf? Yeah, I golf. I got my gym in my, it's really cool. It's something personal. Okay, this is a secret. Don't share this with anybody. But we're getting ready to move. We got a bigger house. because I listen to my wife, guys, okay? So we end up getting the big, even though most of the 5 kids are out of the house, we're getting the bigger house. So you go figure that one. Why? Because now we got a bunch of grandkids. The family's actually growing. So here's the deal. I only get one room at the new house, the same room I have in the old house. I get the garage. Why? Because that's my gym. That's my fitness center. I don't get any other rooms except the gym. So that's what I do. I go to the gym. But here's the secret, okay? I can go into my gym any time of day or night, and I work out in my pajamas, okay? Because in the old days, I gave an excuse. Oh, I gotta get my fitness fancy clothes on to drive to the gym so I look good. But you know, by the time I got dressed and drove to the gym, I was already tired. So I got my gym in my garage. So let me tell you something. I mean, I don't have all that state-of-the-art stuff. Well, I got some pretty cool old stuff, you know. I got the freak weights, I got the stationary bicycle, I got the rope that's anchored to the ceiling. And by the way, my new ceiling at this garage is 12 feet high. You know, I got just the ordinary stuff. So the workout for me is good. So here's the deal. No excuses. I can go there in my pajamas and I walk in, I get it done. Whatever, 15, 20 minutes. And the other stuff I do, I just love. I love speaking. I love talking to people. This is great to be on stage with Claire again. And I enjoy life at 66 right now. And so don't ever think, guys and gals, when you get to be in your 60s, gee, I'm not really looking forward to it. No, listen to me. You need to look forward to this time right now, because the good or the bad, our failures and our successes, we all have a platform, no matter what we do, to help encourage and build people up, and that's what I want to do. And of course, I want to get financing to do the sequel to Flash Gordon. I want to get financing to do this incredible, which I think, a TV series that I've written, all about the same thing that we're doing.